What's up, guys? Welcome to our very first episode in a brand new series called Films Revisited, where we give films a second chance with either good or bad results. Now, today's movie is really more of a revisit for me and a new reaction for her, and today we're going to do The Amazing Spider-Man. It came out in 2012, starring Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, directed by Mark Webb. But before we do that, we have to talk about Sam Raimi's trilogy leading up to this film first, okay? So, early 2000s, alright, we really didn't have the greatest of comic book films, okay? Besides Blade. I love Blade. Blade came out in 1998, I believe. We really didn't have a lot of super heroic-y, really, superhero, almost pre-Marvel film style.
Okay, we were basically limping away from the dark valley of that which was the late 90s period, which gave us such classics as Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but Spawn.
Damn it.
Superman had yet to recover from his travesty of Superman 4 and the Quest for Peace.
Mm-hmm.
And comic book films were basically stagnant. We had Blade, as you mentioned, and it was a really good start, but it was a rated R comic book franchise of a not too well-known character, and so it kind of came and went. It did eventually give us a nice, lovely sequel in the form of Blade 2, directed by Guillermo del Toro. But it wasn't until 2000 where comic book movies were kind of trying to make a comeback, and we finally had our first X-Men movie, which, watching it now, it's a little stiff, it's very dark, it's not very humorous, it's kind of claustrophobic to watch because it was very low budget. And then in 2002, Sam Raimi got to direct Spider-Man, and it was a smash.
Yeah.
It was a huge hit. I didn't get to see it in the theater, of course, but
I did.
Of course.
And it was a lot of fun. I mean, looking back on the first Spider-Man now, it's still fun. I still enjoy it. Yes, there's tons of cheese. I mean, you got Green Goblin yelling at Aunt May to finish her prayer. Finish it! I mean, Macho Man, R.I.P. Macho Man, Bonesaw is ready. I mean, we had a lot of cheese, but it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. We all had fun. The special effects were really good for its time, and we all had a good time.
And then cut to 2 years later, and we get our far superior sequel in Spider-Man 2, giving us a better villain, kind of a darker film a little bit, another great score by Danny Elfman, still useless Mary Jane, but what are you going to do? And then we got derailed.
Oh.
Sony decided that they wanted a villain that Sam Raimi did not. They kind of had him hogtied, and he had to put in the character of Venom, which
No, that wasn't Venom. That wasn't Venom, damn it!
Venom should have given us the ultimate experience in Spider-Man villainry, and instead what we ended up getting was this...
Parker! It's all your fault, Parker. It's all your fault, Parker, that I lost my job, and you took my girl, Parker.
Exactly. So we ended up with characters that were not really making a lot of sense. They had to retcon a few things here and there, which did not work. It killed the franchise.
Yes.
They had plans for another 3 movies with Raimi at least set to direct the 4th one. That got scrapped. And so, considering that financially, yes, Spider-Man 3 was a success, but the fans and the critics were just like... And I agree that given the circumstances of the failures of the 3rd film, they were right to do a reboot, even though a lot of people said it was too soon.
It felt like it was too soon, but
and it did.
The 3 was so bad. So here we are, years later, a couple of years later, reboot Spider-Man comes out. Now, me and my buddies, we were still doing the whole, it's too soon, and we still had the nostalgia connection with the first 2 films. But we were kind of excited. We were like, fuck it, man. Spider-Man 3 was so bad, this has to be better. We were actually kind of excited when we saw the trailer for Amazing Spider-Man. We were, our excitement started to rise, And then when we went to go see it, I'd be honest, I really didn't like it at all. Me and my buddy were just kind of like, we didn't really talk on the way home. We were just...
That's never a good sign.
And then when we got home, we were just kind of like, it was all right. I mean, it was very, at the time, it was very underwhelming. Very, very, very underwhelming. And it was the same shit. We've seen it all before. The same origin story. The same Uncle Ben. The same Aunt May. The same. him discovering his powers and stuff like that. But something at the time, okay, this is what we felt. The fun wasn't there. There was no fun. There was no sense of adventure. And it was a lot darker and stuff, and that was fine. We didn't mind the darker look. We didn't mind his new suit. We actually liked his new suit. And we really didn't have any issues with Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker or Spider-Man. We were fine with him. And there were a few moments throughout the movie that we did like. But overall, we were just kind of like, why? You know, this is what we get. You know, after Spider-Man 3, we had our fingers crossed. And this is what we got. This is the best they could do. And we just didn't really care for it that much.
Yeah, that was kind of the general consensus that I heard about the movie when it first came out. I didn't go see it. I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan. I admit it. He had to twist my arm to get me to watch the Sam Raimi trilogy. Actually, it was just the first two, and then he showed me the third one. I'm like, oh,
I had to.
You hate me, don't you?
Yeah, I had to.
Now, I can forgive the first movie, and I enjoy Spider-Man 2 a lot. And the third one was just, ouch.
Yeah.
And so obviously the reboot comes out. I don't really care. I'm not an Emma Stone fan. I don't really know who Andrew Garfield is, so I don't really care. And the consensus I heard was meh and why, and you do a reboot and you don't do anything special to separate it from the original Raimi trilogy. And so I stayed away from it. It wasn't really anything that I thought I needed to see. You know, you got to remember, by 2012, we already had the Batman trilogy, the Christopher Nolan trilogy. The Avengers had already come out. We already had films like Iron Man that were basically bringing up and just setting new bars. Every time a movie would come out, not every time, but every time a big hitter would come out, it would set that bar just a little bit higher. To have a heavy hitter like Spider-Man, who is one of the most universally iconic comic book characters out there, he's probably just about close to the same league in recognizability as Batman, Superman. You know who Spider-Man is. You don't have to read a comic. You don't have to have seen a movie. You know who he is. And to have him in such a mediocre, lackluster film is like, well, I'm not going to waste my time if the producers and the director aren't going to give me their time and care in giving me something that they clearly didn't care about. If they don't care, I'm not going to care. Mm-hmm. So I stayed away.
Which brings us to last week. 4 years later, 4 years go by. And for some reason, I was just kind of like, you know what? I don't know why I want to watch this again right now. I really don't. But fuck it, you know. And I sat down and watched it with an open mind. And I was like, well, let me do it. If I'm going to do it, let me bring her in. Okay, so again, I had to twist the arm.
Because he hates me.
I had to force her down to watch it, so. And we watched it, and I have a different opinion about it now. I actually like this movie now.
Yeah, you know, again, when you when you have the bar set so high, the exact opposite can happen. In this span of several years, I have seen Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. I have seen Catwoman. And I have seen Fan Four Stick.
Oh.
So going into Amazing Spider-Man 2012, I was expecting a lot worse. And I gotta say, I don't feel like this movie is anything special. But
yeah, it's not like it's a really, really awesome movie.
I think it got a little too much flack. Just a little bit. It's nothing that's going to win any awards. It's not even going to be remembered in 10 years. They're already rebooting the damn franchise.
Yeah, already.
So this was a waste of time in the end. But, you know, it wasn't that bad.
No.
We ended up with a really good Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. Again, as much as I'm not a fan of Emma Stone, those two had such blatant chemistry. They had chemistry the likes of which Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire couldn't even hope to have.
No.
Gwen Stacy was probably about as good as you're going to get in terms of girlfriends that know that their boyfriend is a such and such and is actually not entirely useless, as opposed to Mary Jane, who had 3 movies and all she did was get kidnapped.
Yeah, and scream.
Every single
and cry.
Movie.
And wanted to be a singer for no reason in the third film.
Yeah, so...
But no, yeah, you're correct. The chemistry, they were really one of the big reasons to watch.
Yes.
They worked. I enjoy Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man, okay? But I think, though, if you have to compare the two, I think if you put a gun to my head and I had to choose, Peter Parker is best played by Tobey Maguire, okay? And a lot of people were like, a lot of people love Andrew as Peter Parker because he's not the whiny, crying all the time, character. And I totally understand that, and that's fine, right? But for some reason, the look that Tobey had, it was a lot more nerdy, wasn't as ladies' man-ish. like you can see, not to say Kirsten Dunst is like gorgeous or anything, but you could kind of feel that Tobey was probably out of her league, so it kind of fit because in the comics, Mary Jane's supposed to be gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous, and what the heck is she doing with this nerdy Peter Parker guy, okay? But in this movie, it's kind of like, was Emma Stone out of his league? I mean, he swings his little hair, his hair's over his face, Andrew's hair, and he kind of whips it back in the mirror and everything. I'm completely fine with all that. But I actually really like Andrew in the Spider-Man suit. Andrew as Spider-Man, actually a lot better than Tobey.
Yeah, and you can chalk that up to writing as well. They seem to really capture the sarcasm and
the
humor that is inherent with the Spider-Man character.
Crouch! Just let me go.
Is that a knife? Is that a real knife?
Yes, it's a real knife.
My weakness, it's small knives.
Just let me go.
Anything but knives!
Oh, it's so simple.
That was cool.
What the hell is this?
Webbing that I developed myself. I don't think you really want to know.
Come
right
on,
now.
let me go.
One second. What's it?
Stop, get off, man. No.
I will say I did not buy either one of them being in high school. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
There's
Emma
really,
Stone is going to be 80 and play a high school character.
There's nothing you can do about that. I would have preferred if they were maybe college students. I think I could have gotten behind that a little bit easier.
Yeah.
This movie was filled with all of the generic cliches.
Oh, yeah.
You've got...
there is a lot of bad. There is bad in this movie.
You've got some things that are like, oh, well, that's a coincidence. Even the way Peter gets turned into Spider-Man, he goes into this building that Emma Stone just happens to be not a volunteer, but she's like an intern there, and she just happens to be leading this group because she's like the top high school student in the world, I guess. And he does this badge thing where he steals this guy's identity. And he doesn't have any ID on him. He just says, oh, yeah, that's me. It's this Hispanic name, but yeah, that's me. Oh, okay, senor, there you go. So the Hispanic kid comes in, who probably has legitimate ID, and instead of the receptionist questioning, who's this white guy that just walked off with this Spanish kid's badge, they escort the Hispanic kid off of the premises, and I'm like, okay, keep it together, girl, keep it together. So he sneaks off, and he gets bit by these spiders, of course, as you do. And he starts to notice things get changed and everything. And in one of the most lackluster, boring discovery sequences, we get this really dumb montage where he's like in this abandoned construction site, or maybe it's just maybe just people are off for the day.
That was
it's this
boring.
Construction site, and he's just like playing around and discovering, woo, I've got powers, woo, I'm not doing anything, but woo. It's like, okay.
Why are you yelling, man?
No, stop.
You didn't really do anything but climb up the wall and swing on some change, but woo! It's like, okay.
Yeah, that was very underwhelming. You had the villain that, I mean, from my understanding, the Lizard is supposed to be very sympathetic.
Yes.
I hate to give credit to Spider-Man 3, but he was established in Spider-Man 3 as having a relationship, like a student-teacher relationship with Peter Parker. Is that correct? Yeah, that was correct,
Yes.
right? And in this one, oh, well, I knew your dad and your mom, and when they disappeared, I stayed away, and I'm sorry for that. Let's be friends now. Yeah. And all of a sudden, well, he gets, he's got the arm missing, and so he wants to, regrow it. Because he's basically doing research to what you find out later is to find this cure for Norman Osborn. That you find out he's sick. They get further into that later. But anyway, so he turns himself into the Lizard with the serum, and suddenly he's...
Villain.
Exactly. So that's what he is. And what's really equally as ludicrous is that once he goes back to normal, it seems like what should happen is he either is remorseful and he doesn't want to do that to himself again because he knows he's hurting people, because he clearly has this duality of when he's a human, he's a good guy. When he's a lizard, he's the... Okay. And so what you think would happen was that you would think that you would either go that direction where he would never want to be that person again, or maybe he forgets. And so he turns himself into the lizard not knowing that he's this supervillain, but no, he clearly establishes that not only does he know what he's doing, but he's trying to hide the fact that he's doing it, and he's being all nefarious about it. And by the end of the movie, for no reason, he is turning the city into lizard people.
Yes.
Because he is. And as he gets this antidote that Peter Parker has created, suddenly he's turning back into a human. So, I'm gonna save Spider-Man now.
Yeah, that was weak. Weak.
So, just so much that did not work.
Yeah.
You know, the Uncle Ben character getting killed, it was pretty stock.
Yeah.
It wasn't too dissimilar from the Sam Raimi version. I felt like it had a punch, and then it disappeared from the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was a writing thing, if it was a tonal shift thing. I'm not really sure. But one of the worst parts about that was, by the end of the movie, we have this obligatory, we have to make Peter Parker feel good about what he is and who he is. And so his uncle left him this magical, I will answer all of your life's problems if you just listen to my voicemail, one of those messages. And that's supposed to leave us with this, oh, yay! And instead I was kind of sitting here going,
Yeah.
all right.
You didn't care about Peter's parents. They weren't in the movie. I mean, Sally Field and Martin Sheen were fine.
They tried.
They were fine.
They were okay.
But the villain, you got it. you gotta give us an awesome villain, man. I mean, look at Green Goblin.
Yes, look at him. Look at him!
Cheesy, yeah. Cartoony, yeah. But you could tell, Willem Dafoe was having fun with the character, looking at himself in the mirror, his evil self, talking back and forth.
Taking
it was
his
supposed
teeth
to
out to show his really horrible bad teeth underneath.
Yeah, I mean, he was having fun with the role, okay? This guy, you just did not give a shit at all about anything.
It wasn't the greatest development there.
And, the Connor story in the comics was sad. It was sad because he was a really good man. He really loved Peter a lot. And, he was just trying to save himself and save other people, and it just goes tragically wrong. And even when Peter fought the lizard, they go blow for blow, toe to toe, but Peter really didn't want to hurt Connors, Peter in the comics created his own serum to kind of, help Connor go back to his human form so he can be with his wife and his son. None of that in this movie.
Yeah, I think they went for bare minimum.
Yeah.
I feel like this was another one of those, okay, we're about to lose the rights. We have to do something because we don't want this to go back to Marvel. This is the only property we have. Mm-hmm. And who knows, maybe we can make our own little Sony cinematic universe with their Marvel, the Marvel properties. And they were trying. Boy, oh boy, were they trying come the next movie. They had their eyes on the prize, and they lost. They fell flat on their ass. But this one, I feel like they went for the bare minimum, but I feel like enough was there.
Yes.
So that you could tell some people gave a shit. Mm-hmm. It's just not enough of a shit was given.
Yeah.
So what you ended up with was kind of mediocre, middle of the road, not great, not terrible.
Right.
But not really bad.
No.
So it
was well done.
Yeah, and again, it really boiled down to Gwen and Peter. Their chemistry in real life really helped with the chemistry in front of the camera, and ultimately that really ended up being the only reason to watch it. And you know me, I hate love stories of any kind, but I was kind of grinning at those two idiots. They were cute.
Yeah, it worked. Now let's talk about the soundtrack. James Horner. Damn it, R.I.P.
Yeah. James Horner, he's gotten a lot of flack over the years for kind of kind of doing the same thing every once in a while, but I think everybody's guilty of having...
Danny Elfman does the same thing?
I think everybody's guilty of having their own sound, although there are moments where I'm like, Star Trek 2, in other films he's done, but, you know, he's got some really underrated work out there. And, you know, I was noticing what was interesting about the score for Amazing Spider-Man was it was good.
I did not like it first time.
It was...
When I saw the movie the first time, I did not like the soundtrack at all. I was like, this is
I can understand why.
boring.
I can understand why.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's Danny Elfman. You know, he had the punch.
Yeah.
He excels at superhero themes. And that was what you got with Spider-Man, with the Raimi trilogy. You got this clear cut, oh, this is Spider-Man. We're gearing up to watch a Spider-Man movie where... And, you know, you can also chalk this up to movies of the new school and the new generation where movie scores are not what they used to be. They're not epic. They're not thematic. They're not full and rich anymore.
It's very rare.
And you can take that for what it is. I don't necessarily mind it. I do miss it, but sometimes I feel like the way scores were back in the day won't necessarily work now. So you kind of have to evolve with the times, but that's why sometimes you get scores now that just like punch you in the face and you're like, oh yeah, movie music, holy shit, I remember this. This was, again, just a middle of the road, not terrible, but not ear-catching.
Yeah. It was good, though. Second time listening to it, I was like, you know, this is actually pretty good soundtrack. For a superhero movie that wasn't Spider-Man. For some reason, I see Green Lantern flying around or Superman flying around. Spider-Man is supposed to be, you know, there's that essence of fun and adventure and excitement. But that Danny Elfman theme, there was excitement in the theme. You know, you were like, yeah, let's do this!
The Doc Ock's theme.
Yeah.
That was, it's beautiful. I don't even know if the Lizard had a theme in this one, but, you know, again, thematically, things are different now. So, you know, I gotta admit, sometimes your expectations can work for you and against you, and I was expecting a lot worse, and instead I got kind of a mid-grade comic book film. What do I consider mid-grade? The Thor films. Not terrible, but enjoyable. I'd probably watch those more than Amazing Spider-Man. You know, Captain America, the First Avenger, you know, movies that are just, they're not bad. They're just, you know, you pop them in every once in a while and you're like, huh, that's not terrible. So, it's just one of those movies where it got a really bad rep. It ended up getting a lot darker, folks. Strap yourselves in, because guess what? Yeah, we're going to be doing Amazing Spider-Man 2 coming up pretty soon, so be sure to check that out.
Yeah.
And, this is I would have to give this a solid 3.
Yeah.
Not great, but just not dog shit.
Yeah. There were some moments that were very well done. And, you know, the movie was well made. It just had a lot of flaws, but it's definitely way better than Spider-Man 3. Now, some people like this better than the first Spider-Man. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch the first Spider-Man. But watching this again, I really was not expecting to like it at all. So, for me, it's a 3.3. That's it for today's episode of Films Revisited. And again, thank you all for watching. You guys rock. We'll see you next time. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. There can be only one Iron McLeod.